there's more for you, you feel it. You know it. This is your life, and it's time to go from contender to champion. This is The Show with John Madsen.
Welcome back to The Show, everybody. I'm your host, John Madsen, and this is The Show. Hopefully you guys had an amazing weekend. Today, I want to talk about 10 nutrition truths. We're going to get very tactical when it comes to nutrition, what you believe, what is false, what is true, so that you can finally achieve your ultimate fitness goals. Some of the stuff I see is people continuing to go to the gym day after day, month after month, year after year, and they look the same. I can't think about anything more frustrating than actually putting in effort and seeing really, really minimal progress. If you don't understand the facts about nutrition, it's going to be a really long road for you. Now, ultimately, the main ingredients for success, whether it be fitness, business, whatever, is always going to be, do you have that burning desire? Is it important to you? Are you going to be consistent day after day, month after month, year after year? Are you going to be persistent when you don't feel like doing stuff? That's ultimately the core ingredients that's going to move the dial for you. However, when it comes to fitness and your physique, I fell into this category too. I like to train. I enjoy training. So week after week, month after month, year after year, I was training. I was consistent. I had a physique that was good, but I didn't know how to take it to great until I finally understood the truth about nutrition. I kept thinking that there was some magic diet. I was even in the fitness industry and I got confused because there's all these gurus, there's all these people selling different things, there's a billion different books who's going to recite research telling you one thing and another book is going to contradict that thing. It's confusing. And after years and years of never quite figuring it out, going back to the drawing board and keeping it so fucking simple made all the difference. There's so much bullshit out there. And there's so many things that people focus on that are the wrong things. You've heard the saying, you can't out-train a bad diet. Now, you can go to the gym and be in pretty good shape and feel good and be healthy, and then take your shirt off, see a picture and be like, what the fuck? I'm putting in the work. Like, why don't I look like that as you're scrolling through your Instagram feed? Well, number one, the people that you're looking at usually don't look like that year-round. And some of you have probably seen my photos of my last photo shoot. And it's just not reasonable to believe that I'll walk around like that all year around. So you have to have your expectations in place. But I can absolutely look good with my shirt off 12 months out of the year. Because I know how to manipulate food. I know the truth about nutrition. And if I have another photo shoot, there's a 4 to 6 week little cut that I do to get right back to where I was, or probably better because I've put on more muscle since then. So the reason for this show, though, is to break down all the bullshit for you, give you 10 simple nutrition truths that might be able to change your perspective. Because I talk to people every single day, because I coach them, coach people all over the world, and some of the things they still say, they're so ingrained into their belief system, it's super, super hard for even me to break them out of that cycle of thinking, because you've just heard too much BS to actually understand the truth. So without further ado, we're going to dive into 10 nutrition truths. And this can be a very tactical podcast because hopefully you'll learn something and hopefully you can implement something right off the bat. These are in no specific order, just 10 things that popped into my brain that I wanted you to know. Number 1, you do not need to eat breakfast. Breakfast of champions is bullshit. Now, when I say that, understand that I'm not telling you that you have to do intermittent fasting or that's the only way that you can get stellar results. But so many times people think that they have to eat breakfast, that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And I'm telling you that it doesn't matter. If you like to eat breakfast, you can eat breakfast. Sometimes, if you skip breakfast, you're actually less hungry throughout the day. So if weight loss is a goal, the less calories you eat, the more fat you're going to lose. So eating breakfast, by taking that off the table, as long as you don't binge thereafter because you're starving, might be a good strategy. For other people, if skipping breakfast makes you ravenously hungry and then you're just going to go fucking insane at lunch and dinner, then it's not a good strategy. So understand, take all of these in context, but you do not need to eat breakfast. Sometimes it's a great strategy not to eat breakfast. Also, something to consider, if you're a performance athlete, you're going to need energy. And if you need to perform, it's not going to do you very good to skip breakfast and then try to go play a football game either. Understand where you're at. Understand what your goal is. Do you want to gain muscle? Do you want to lose fat? Are you worried about performance? Is it just a physique goal? Ask yourself these questions. Number 2, gluten-free does not equal healthy. Vegan does not equal healthy. So all of these food companies, big manufacturers, you see on boxes, you see on labels, they know that people aren't very smart. And so what they're going to do marketing-wise is put gluten-free on a bag of fucking chips or on a cookie. And people's like, oh my God, it's gluten-free. It's healthy. No, it's fucking not. The calories, the fat, the carbohydrates, and the protein is what matters. If you have 300 calories of gluten-free cookie and 300 calories of a cookie with gluten, it's the same fucking thing. Now, you might be allergic to gluten, or even more prevalent is you might think you're allergic to gluten. And I say that because it's pretty factual to say that probably less than 3% of people have an adverse reaction to gluten. So if you're like, wow, that's not very many. So many people right now think they're allergic to gluten. They've made it up in their heads. And maybe you are. Maybe you are one of those rare people who truly are allergic to gluten. Maybe you have an intolerance. But if we're speaking about physique and we're speaking about fat loss, it doesn't matter if it's gluten-free. Understand, you may or may not be intolerant to it. If you're intolerant to it, if you have adverse reaction, obviously you shouldn't eat it. But if something says vegan, if something says gluten-free, and the calories remain the same, it doesn't matter. Number 3, carbs are not evil. So many times I'm working with somebody and they want to just go straight to cutting out carbs because they think that when they cut out carbs, they feel better. Some people are going to react better. Some people tolerate carbohydrates more. A good rule of thumb is the leaner you are, the more carbohydrate you can have. If you have a lot of weight to lose, you're going to do better on lower carb. Carbs are just energy, people. You can lose weight on high carbs. you can lose weight on low carbs. Do not automatically assume that going low carb is the answer. If you take out carbs and lose weight, the main driver of that is just that you took out a lot of calories. If you minus 100 grams of carbs from your daily diet or nutrition plan, that's 400 calories less than what you were eating before. That's going to be the driver of weight loss, not the carbs itself. So understand that carbs are not evil. You can have carbs after dark, and you can still lose weight. Now, it's important to know, by going through, and the way I do it with my clients is we go through different phases. Some people are going to react better to lower carb. Good rule of thumb though, the leaner you are, the more carbs you can have. Number 4, cutting out all sugar is a worthy goal, but you're going to fail. So it's just like anything else, right? If you have to abstain from it for life, it's probably going to be a pretty shitty plan. So a lot of times people say, I'm going to cut out all sugar. I like to leave the door open. You can have sugar. Moderation is cool. Again, calories, and I'm going to sound like a broken fucking record on this podcast. Calories are going to be the thing that matters. Okay? Sugar, carbohydrate, if you overconsume it, you're going to gain fat. If you overconsume fat, you're going to gain fat. If you overconsume calories, you're going to gain fat. So cutting out sugar, I know what people mean when they say it. I want to cut out cookies. I want to cut out the donuts. I want to cut out the cake. But if you're not understanding what you're eating on a daily basis, exactly how many calories, how many grams of protein, how many carbohydrates, how many grams of fat, if you care about weight loss and that's your goal right now, it's important to know those numbers. Just cutting out sugar might work in the short term, but I promise you, you're going to have a piece of cake. And when people say they want to cut out something, they're making it out to be the villain. And then when that villain wins, they feel bad about their choices. Sometimes that snowballs into very bad choices over and over again. And I will say this, sugar does have addictive qualities. For example, it was my birthday this past weekend, and it was a weekend full of cake, cheesecake, ice cream, all types of good stuff. It's true that I'm a person, I can't just eat one cupcake. If I have a taste of it, I want more of it. But when I eat it, I understand that it's okay. You got to live a little bit. You can't just cut out sugar for life. It's a worthy goal, but it's a goal that you're actually going to fail on long term. You just have to understand food. Which leads me to nutrition truth number 5. Moderation is better than restriction. If I'm not making sugar out to be the villain, I know that some days I'm going to have it. Most days I'm going to stick within my nutrition plan. Consistency over time is going to win. If you try to restrict yourself forever, carbs, fats, sugars, whatever, it's probably going to be a plan that doesn't work for you. You'll probably be one of those people who can get results in the short term, but the wheels fall off and all the good you did, you undo because you're on this binge and restrict cycle. Always remember, moderation is better than restriction. Number 6, eating whole foods and fruits and vegetables are better for you than Pop-Tarts and candy bars. Don't be a dummy. So in the flexible dieting world and on Instagram, and I'm guilty of this too because it's a hook, we usually post food that isn't very good. And when I say not very good, it's just across the board people would recognize as not very good. I'm posting Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I'm posting donuts, cookies, cheesecake, cake. Because the point, and you have to understand, what we're trying to do is undo all the bullshit that you've been taught. So all the bad foods that you think are bad, when you see a fit person eating, you're like confused as fuck. Like, what do you mean you can eat that and still have a six-pack? So we'll show that because it hooks you, and then people be like, oh my God, I want to know how to do that. Understand, whole food, fruits, vegetables, they're going to be way more micronutrient dense. Vitamins, minerals are important. And healthy is different than just getting on stage and looking a certain way. This fact is just a dumb argument from people. We're not saying that you should eat Pop-Tarts and sugar and candy bars. No. What we're trying to tell you is stop looking at food as good or bad. Have some common sense. Fruits and vegetables are going to be better than a Snickers bar. They have more nutritional value in terms of vitamins, minerals, all the micronutrients, fiber, etc. So most of the choices people make, if they care about health and longevity, which they should also have that in mind. But that doesn't give them a free pass. It doesn't mean you don't have to understand what the carbohydrate load is of that pineapple. It doesn't mean that that's free, but a candy bar isn't. Meaning, if you really care about your physique and what it looks like and you want the result, you got to track everything: fruits, vegetables, candy bar, donut. And the people that are posting with phenomenal physiques just understand how much of what they're supposed to be eating, and so they leave themselves room for some of their favorite foods. So don't be a dummy. Eat like an adult. Most of your food choices should come from whole food, fruits, vegetables, and stuff that's going to be better for you health-wise. That doesn't give them a free pass. Nutrition truth number 7. You should aim for 0.8 to 1.2 grams of protein per pound of lean body weight for optimal body composition. So, what does that mean? Let's break this down. Weight loss and fat loss are two different things. If you have a ton of weight to lose, weight loss is the initial goal. If you want to improve the look of your physique, you want that bikini body, you want to take your shirt off and be shredded, you don't want to lose your muscle mass, you just want to strip away the fat. So you're going to need to eat in a caloric deficit. In doing so, your protein intake has to be set accordingly. 0.8 on the low end, 1.2 grams per pound on the high end, so that when you are dieting, and I don't even like that word, when you're cutting, you're going to lose fat and you're going to maintain muscle. If your protein drops below that mark, it's probable that some of the weight you see dropping on the scale is going to be muscle and fat. If you want to look better, you want to keep that lean muscle tissue. Nutrition truth number 9. Fat will not make you fat, nor should you throw a pound of fucking butter in your fucking coffee. Sorry, Bulletproof fans. Here's the deal. Fat is energy. Just like carbohydrate is energy, it's a little bit different type. Power athletes, football players, basketball players, they're going to do better utilizing carbohydrate for energy. Some endurance athletes believe that they do better burning fat as fuel, and that's fine. But the problem with throwing a whole stick of butter or coconut oil in your coffee to start the day is that most people doing it aren't tracking their overall caloric balance. they're just thinking, oh, so-and-so says it's good to do, so I'm going to stick a whole stick of butter in my coffee and drink it, and they have no idea how many calories they just consumed. And at the end of the day, they went way over their caloric, what would be maintenance, and so they're putting on weight, or if they're trying to get in better shape, they're just maintaining because they're eating too fucking much. And a good way to eat too fucking much is to drink it. You throw down 500 calories from a coffee, whether it be Starbucks with sugar or whether it just be a bunch of butter. That's a really good way to not get the results you want, because you're going to be hungry later. You just consumed 500 calories in the form of liquid, which took away from your daily budget. Be smart. Now, if you're one of those people who are doing it for energy, and you understand that fat is a source of energy, and you're tracking how many grams of fat that you should have during the day and how many calories, then that's fine. That's another story. Sometimes I'll drop MCT oil in my coffee because if I'm trying to hit a certain amount of fat grams. And if I can't do that in normal food, then I can supplement. But if you're doing it mindlessly and wondering why you're not losing weight or it's not working for you, then I'd stop doing that. Which leads us to nutrition truth number 10. And this should be number 1. Energy balance is king. Calories in versus calories out. That's the game that we have to play. Now, hormones are going to play a function. Sleep, hydration, all of this shit is very, very important. But if you have no idea how many calories you're consuming and you want to improve your physique, if you want to go from good to fucking great, or if you just have stalled out on your weight loss journey, this is a number you must know. And when you understand that it's simple math, you're going to win. There's no way you can lose. So many people, and one of my biggest pet peeves is when they say they eat too much and they can't lose weight. That's just the dumbest thing that somebody can say, yet I hear it all the time. If you're saying that, please stop. You're not in starvation mode. There's such thing as metabolic adaptation, where your body's going to adapt a little bit to the decrease in calorie consumption. But nobody ever was starving to death and gained weight. It's just not possible. So logically, that's a dumb argument and one you have to get away from. Now, where to go from here? If you really, really, really want to see how far you can take it, you're going to have to be really, really, really truthful with yourself and accurate. If you have a ton of weight to lose, you're just starting your weight loss journey, there's a ton of things that can work. If you cut out carbs, you're probably going to lose weight, but understand that that's not the mechanism. That's a whole other discussion. We've done a couple of these nutrition talks. I wanted to keep this episode tight and short so that you could go down the list and just think about your thought process behind what you've been taught and hopefully have a little paradigm shift for you to move forward. If you have any questions, feel free, send me a direct message on Instagram. I'm happy to answer your question. I hate seeing people struggle with something as easy as this. Until next time, have a great day, train hard, eat well, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for joining us for another amazing episode of The Show with John Madsen. The greatest compliment that you could give us is liking, loving, and sharing this episode with all of your friends. So please go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and review, and then share it online with everyone that you know. Make sure to tag John as well. He loves to hear from listeners of the show. The links for all of his socials and iTunes are in the show notes. Also, if you'd like to engage John for anything related to his coaching, consulting, or programs, please visit johnmadsen.com for everything you'd need to know on how to engage with John offline. And lastly, thank you for your time, your attention, and your consideration. This is the show.